Hey everyone, it is Friday morning, the 7th of November, and I'd like to go over the work we're going to have for this week. I'm actually pretty excited about some of the stuff you're going to be looking at this week. I've actually given you 2 weeks of lecture, both not week, but lecture 13 and 14. And I only have one last lecture to source, so I'm hoping to do that soon. And this week we move into the topic of payment systems. So one of the things the first video the lecture is going to give you is really a lecture over payment systems, and hands-on this week we're going to do a shared document in Google Docs to come up with what we believe are the top online payment systems. Okay, because as we all generally know is that credit cards are king on the web right now. And that's changing, and it needs to change because not everyone has a credit card, so we're missing out on many opportunities to have people buy things online that might, that would have that possibility. Now we are seeing a wave of things come in that will allow this, but still credit cards are the majority of ways that we pay for things on the web. So it's an interesting time because we're seeing a change in this area, a major change coming, but as of right now it's not. So it's kind of a fun time to be looking at this. Before I jump into topics, so a couple of just general course announcements. One, I don't think any of you, I've said this here, I just found out last week that for those of you, and everyone this should be true for, who has a campus email, you now can get Microsoft Office 2013 for, wait for it, free. Yep, that's free. I will give you a link in the announcements for this. Just happened last week. There's still some discussion among some people that it's really not, but I've had, I think, 5 students at this point test it. I've tested it myself. It works fine. What they tell you is that you get Office 365, which is the online version, which is a minimized version of Office. But in this case, they've now changed that to where on your student email, in the link that I'll give you, you can get the entire version. So that's pretty cool. Finally, time. Might be interesting to discuss why Microsoft has now chosen to do this when, I had hoped they had done it many years ago. And it might be the influence of Google Docs. Be interesting to talk about. Anyway, the other course topic I want to chat about is that I finally set you all up with the Dream Spark program, and what that means is you can get Windows 7, Windows 8, a lot of the other, not a lot, but mostly all the other Microsoft IT products, server. You can get Visual Studio if you know about Expressions, which is Microsoft's editor. Not one I use, but I hear good things about it. So you can get all those things through the Dream Spark program. You should have gotten an email to your campus email about that. Okay, so now let's turn to the topics we have for this week. So first, turning to lecture, I'll hyperlink these, but first we have a video, basically, like I said, a lecture on payment processing these days and where we're at. And I really like about this lecture is that it gives some really good real-world examples that affect us all about how we process payments. And then the second one is a new website I've been following called The Web Ahead. Let me just show you here. I've been watching let's see, I think it's just 5x5, but it's called The Web Ahead. And Todd McLeod actually told me about this site, and I've been listening to it and really found some great information and a really amazing talk that I was so happy to hear on payment systems. And really it doesn't duplicate what you get in the first one, it adds to it, but there's some really good talks on here I definitely recommend. So you're going to be listening on next week's lecture to this one on paying on the web. And I really like this because about halfway through in the discussion, they moved to the idea of how, because we can't do smaller payments and the way we're monetizing the web, you know, we're missing opportunities and ways that we can do that. And really it talks about the idea of web standards, so that when the guy that she's talking to is actually heading up the effort to help standardize payment systems to make it more flexible. So this is a great, very good talk here. And again, I recommend some of these others. I've checked out at least 4 or 5 of them by now, and they're excellent, just very excellent. I'm almost thinking I'd like to, for the last one, do the talk on Polymer, but we have other topics for the last one. So that's the lecture for the next 2 weeks. Now for the hands-on this week, what I'm going to have you do is start thinking about top payment systems. And I should have put online here. So I just went in Wikipedia and found a list. Okay, so here's a list of the payment processors that are out there. And what I want you to do is research, and in the shared doc, which is here, right? So I want you to then come up with what you know, a company you selected, how you would rank them, right? So obviously you don't have to rank the one you select as number 1, right? But give them a ranking that you feel like, are they a top, you know, are they 1, 2, you know, whatever, you know, let's keep it, because there's about 15 of us, right? So let's say that in the top 20, so it needs to be between 1 and 20. Give us a reference, like what site do you feel really helped you, and then your name here. And part of this assignment is not just to have you do this work, but also, and I'm guessing many of you have, but get the experience of a shared doc, right? So you might be in here and you'll see somebody else up in here as well. So once somebody does their line, when you do your next one, you know, you can duplicate. You can say, well, maybe I think this payment processor is actually number 4, right? Or whatever. But the idea is for you to start learning about payment processors, do some research on them, come up with what you think, you know, between 1 and 10. Or 1 and 15, and then we'll use this for an assignment probably next week. Okay, so again, it's a couple things: using a shared doc, doing the research. Okay, so that's the hands-on. For the current topics this week, this is a rough draft of what I think, and I'll go over it in a second, the final project will be. So what I want you to do for this discussion is really just look over this and give me your thoughts or your suggestions about this. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking, because in the past what I've done for the final project or the project 2 is I've had people create a site where they organize all the information topics we've covered, and it just seemed like too much, because the idea is really for you to start thinking about how you organize information on a website, because this is going to be the final topic and lecture really I need to cover, which is information architecture. So I want to then bring that into your experiences of the information that we've covered. So here's my thinking. You're going to select 15 topics that you feel you will really walk away understanding from your time with us, okay? And then you're going to outline to fit into 3 major headings. And when I say headings here, it's really going to be on that Bootstrap site, or if you really struggle with that and you didn't want to do it, you can also use Google Sites here. And what I want you to do is develop your concepts into a website of your output. Now what that output will be some original work that you've written, okay, about these concepts, and some will be the work you've already done in Blackboard. So it will be both of those together. Okay, so the site will be both original content from these concepts and some of the work, and we'll talk more about this later, but again, these are just my thoughts, okay, for what we would do on project 2. Okay, so again, all I want here is you don't have to do this, just to be clear, these are just your thoughts or your suggestions. And going back here, I actually didn't say what you needed to do, but what you can do is just reply here and say, I've posted mine, so that we know, right, how many people have been posted. But obviously, we're going to see that here. So it's kind of redundant, but it's a way that it gives me something to post your grade for this assignment. Okay, so do the work, reply here that you completed, you've selected, and then we can go on. Okay, I think coming back, I think that's it. We are quickly approaching the end, and it's time to, by the way, if you're missing work, you really want to reach out to me and talk to me about that. It's an important time to understand how your grade is calculated and what you hope to end up with. So if you have any questions in those areas, make sure you're reaching out to me. Okay, I think that's it. Have a fabulous weekend. Weather's beautiful. Go enjoy it. See you later.